I'm Jennifer Carroll from CelebratingEverydayLife.com and welcome to another junk journaling tutorial. In today's episode, we are going to talk about hand dyeing paper pink. I love pink paper. You guys, this gets me so excited. Oh my goodness, I love it. And the beauty of hand-dyed paper like this is that you can really get different shades of pink. Like it's just, you know, some are going to be really, really pale. Some are going to be darker. Some are going to be really dark. It's just awesome. Now, the supplies that you're going to need to do this is, of course, you're going to need some plain copy paper, like text weight paper, printer paper, whatever you want to call it. I don't tend to do this with cardstock. I think that's just because I don't use cardstock in that way. So it's not to say you couldn't do this with cardstock. You totally could, but I tend to do this with copy paper like this. And then you're gonna need some dye. Now, I use two kinds of dye. I don't know that you have to do it this way. You know, I'm not looking to make life extra complicated, but I really like the color that I get with this. So what I have here is beetroot powder. So this is natural, it's edible, you actually could eat this. But I have found that I've not been 100% happy when I've done just the beetroot powder. So I do tend to add a little bit of food coloring to it, just to give it a little boost. But I will tell you the real secret. There are two secrets that I'm going to tell you in this video about getting really good color for your papers. And they are secrets that I have learned through trial and error. So the first one is about the one of the ingredients that you need. And so I have tried doing it just with, just the beetroot powder alone and not been very happy with the results. I've tried it with just the beetroot powder and adding the food coloring. And again, it's okay. I've tried it with beetroot powder, food coloring, and alcohol just to see if that would be enough of an accelerant to do it. Again, no way, Jose, not enough. The magical accelerant that you want to have is distilled white vinegar. This is like the magic bullet that is going to make this totally work and be amazing for you. So I've got here, if you've watched my how to coffee dye paper video, you know that I love to use these metal pans. So these are, they're really I get the really oversized pans. We get these like a warehouse store, like Costco or, not Costco, Sam's Club, I think. But you can find, lasagna pans, things like this at your grocery store. These really, really big ones though, I think, are like a warehouse kind of store find, or maybe Walmart, Super Walmart might have it too. But the point is I like a big heavy pan like this because I'm going to be able to mix my color in here, put my paper in here, do everything I need to do in this one pan and not have multiple dishes that I'm having to be using and cleaning later. And then I also like to have a baking sheet with me so that as I'm pulling the papers out, I'm going to put them onto this and then I'll carry this to my oven because the oven is secret weapon number 2. That is what is going to really enhance the color. There is just something about heat that's going to make it magical for you. So let's get started. I've got this pan. I've put in about 3 or 4 cups of water so far. And then I'm gonna start adding my beetroot powder. So I've got a half a cup measure here, but I'm only gonna do about a quarter of a cup in here. So I'm gonna start sprinkling that into my pan. And I'm gonna take my spoon. I forgot my spatula when I did the coffee dyeing video. It smells really good, this beetroot powder. I like pickled beets, so, and I even thought of doing like pickled beet juice, but I didn't quite want that going on. And again, keep adding. Like I'm looking at this and I'm like, nah, I think I want it a little bit darker, so I'm going to add a little bit more. Maybe I will end up getting close to a full half cup. The fun thing about doing papers like this is you're kind of like a, you know, mad scientist, just mixing things. There's no, you know, it doesn't have to be exact measurements. It's not like baking where, you know, too much baking soda or baking powder and you can push the whole thing off. This isn't like that. So let me get some of that out of this container here. Okay. So I'm going to keep doing that. But as you can start to see, the color is good, but it's still pretty translucent. And I'm going to need a little bit more water. So I think I'm ultimately going to end up with about, sometimes I've done this and I've used as much as 10 cups of water. Probably in this, you know, maybe 8 cups or so I have in here, maybe a little more. And so you can see the color is, it's nice, but it's really not there yet. It's just not for the colors that I like to get. And so that's why I turn to food coloring. And so I start just really sprinkling in the food coloring as well. I like to use things like this because I don't tend to wear gloves when I'm doing this kind of thing. So I want to make sure I'm using ingredients that are safe for me to be touching. You know, if you are using something that really stains, do wear gloves, put some gloves on. Next, to add the vinegar. Now for this, I add a lot of vinegar. I really want to make sure this is going to go to work for me. So I am going to put a cup of vinegar in this bath that I've got going here. Because for me, more is better than less. Like I said, this is the accelerant that really makes the magic happen. It's amazing, amazing, amazing. So there we go. I've got that. And you really don't smell it later. So if you give it the smell test, it's not like I'm smelling. In fact, I smell more of the beetroot powder, which is part of why I like to do that. You could even add some essential oils to it to make your papers smell even better, like some rose oil or lavender or things like that. So if you've seen my coffee dyeing video, you know I like to just plunk paper right into the water. I like to fan it out as we're going to try and help it get in there. But we are just gonna put this in, and time is really your friend here, which again is part of why I like to do stacks at a time, because I am not a very patient crafter, and if I just use like 1 page at a time, I'm really not gonna leave the paper in here long enough for it to really start to absorb the color like I want. And if you start doing this and you're, you know, kind of looking at the paper and you're not loving it, you can still add in more of your coloring while you're in here. It's not like, oh, you're in here, you can't add more. You absolutely can keep playing with the dye till you're really happy with it, till you have it just how you want. But get it all in here, let it get working, let it get soaking, keep flipping and mixing. And like I said, it's just, you're really giving the paper time to start soaking up the color, and that's important. We want it, it's not like, oh, it's got all that on there, it's not gonna do more. It is. I've noticed, I've tried kind of doing it and pulling it out, and then I've tried letting it soak a little longer and then pulling it out, and for me, that really, really does help it. So I don't feel bad that I'm taking the time to flip these, because I know it's just letting it keep working. So just keep flipping it around, getting your papers, getting them soaked in there. Just make sure you're getting everything nice and covered. And like I said, if you feel like, you know, don't know that I'm getting enough color, you can just take and add it and just kind of mix it around. It is never too late to add color, so don't be afraid. You know, this is that's the great thing about junk journals in general to me, is that it's not about perfection. We are not going for perfection in any of this. This is the journey. Enjoy the journey that you're on making these journals, and enjoy the perfectly imperfect results that you get, because they're awesome. It's really fun. This should be fun. These are made with love and laughter because you're gonna make mistakes, and that's gonna be okay. And just keep digging through, because like, look, this section is really getting mixed, but I still have some papers here that aren't. So just keep flipping through, okay? And pressing them in. And it's okay if some of the pages don't end up with color on it. That's just gonna add interest too, but I do try to get everybody as saturated as I can. And the paper, the paper that I use, 24-pound paper, and it does fine lingering in this bath, this dye bath. It doesn't, it's not like, oh, it's going to start to fall apart. It tends to hold up pretty well to hanging out in here. I've heard some people say, oh, I leave my paper in overnight. Okay, I don't do that. I'll be honest, I don't do that. But 15-20 minutes soaking and hanging out in the bath is not unusual, and I've not had a problem. Okay, so once everybody's pretty well saturated and you're happy with the colors, now we want to start taking out little sections. Now, when I put these in the oven, I lay baking parchment paper on my racks first. I don't tend to put a pan like this in the oven with the paper, basically because I don't have enough of these pans. I like to use all three of the racks in my oven, and I just don't happen to have three of these. And I don't necessarily want to get the grill marks on this paper. I learned when I was doing the coffee staining that I was getting grill marks, and while that was okay for me with the coffee paper, I didn't really love it on this sweet pink paper. So I had done it on some of the pink paper and gotten some of the marks. Let's see if I can find some. I guess not in this group. And I realized I didn't like that. A little bit of marks was okay with me. And that's what happened when I started putting parchment paper down on my racks. So the parchment paper lets the heat still quickly and easily get up to the paper, but it really minimizes the marks. So that's one little tip I have for you, is line your racks with that. Preheat your oven to 350 degrees. And then I have 3 racks going in my oven, and I do 2 stacks of about 5 to 6 papers on each rack. And you can see an example of that if you go to my coffee dyeing video. You can see I actually show you in the oven. So what you'll want to do is just put these on the paper, on the pan, in groups, like I said, 5 or 6 sheets or so. Let them drip off and kind of separate your stacks a little bit just to make it easier for you once you get there. And since I have 3 racks, that's going to be 6 stacks that I'm going to need. So once you've got all your stacks, go ahead, put these in the oven. Leave your others just to soak in this bath while you're doing that. There's no reason to take them out. I cook mine in a 350 degree oven for about 10 minutes. But y'all, I sit there the whole time. I don't leave. I keep an eye on it. I keep a fire extinguisher handy. I've never had a fire problem, but this is paper in an oven, so, be aware of that. And also, just be mindful when you're going to open the oven that there can be a lot of steam that comes out. So just be prepared for that. Don't burn yourself with the steam coming out of your oven. But you're going to have gorgeous pink paper. So this is kind of the first half of the process. But to really make your paper awesome, let's move this out of the way. The last step to paper perfection when you're hand dyeing paper, and look, my fingers are getting pink, but it'll come right off. Gloves can be helpful if you do not want to dye your hands like I do. The last step though is ironing your paper, because this is what's going to make it nice and smooth, easy to work with. This is what's going to let you be able to run it through your printer if you decide you do want to print on this. So to me, it's a really important step. It compresses the paper back down because the paper has gotten so full from the water, and even though it's dry, it's still kind of very full. So this is going to compress it right back down. It's going to make it so much easier for you to work with and to store. So I use my Cricut Easy Press for this. It really is the Easy Press. I love it. These are sheets that I've already ironed, but I want to show you real quick just the kind of process for what I do. You do not have to use a Cricut Easy Press to do this. You can absolutely use a regular iron. I just love the simplicity of this, and I have the bigger size here that I'm using. And what I like to do is kind of just get a station set up. Again, I'll have a show on, or maybe some YouTube videos. You could be watching me while you're doing it. Hello. But we will lay these out. I'll get my stack that I need to do right next to me. And again, I've already ironed those and they're all so nicely compressed, but I want you to see kind of the flow of how this works. So I heat my Easy Press up to 385 degrees. I have found that that's kind of a sweet spot to help me keep moving along. Like I said, I'm not a super patient gal, so I like to keep the process going, especially when I have a ton of papers like this that I'm trying to do. Because I will do like 100 or more sheets at a time. So I really want the process to move right along. I have noticed if I get up to like 400 or higher, it's too hot. And you certainly could go lower. It's a fast process when we do this. So I like to get 2 sheets on my workspace. I've got the iron pad, and I will just, it's hot. Even the ironing pad gets hot. The little base. So I will just put it down. Again, this is the beauty of the really big size of the Easy Press, because it's going to let me do a whole page at one time. So I'll just let it sit for a few seconds, pick it up, careful because the paper's hot, flip it over while the paper's on this one. Then I'll move this off, come back to this one, flip this one carefully because the paper's hot, move it back over, and if it sticks, just, get it off. Take that off, put that over there, get my next one ready, get that on the mat, get off of this one, get to that, move that, get this on. So you can see it's like a fast process once you get going. And again, play with it. Your paper, maybe you don't need it quite that high, so you can adjust it, but just flip it all around, get it, out of the way. Be careful. This is hot. I don't want you burning yourself. Don't burn yourself. But you can see, you can just keep going like that. It goes really fast and easy. And before you know it, you will have a whole beautiful collection of papers. Some papers, like I noticed at the bottom of my oven was hotter. So some papers, if I left them in a little too long, they started to get brown. But then I decided, oh, I like that too. I can still use that. The papers that are on the outside of your stacks, when you have your stacks in the rack, they are going to get darker. The heat on those is going to make it darker than the ones that are on the inside of your stack. They're going to be a little bit lighter. So you're going to end up with all this really interesting variation because this is a handmade product. So I love it. I hope that you are going to give this a try. I hope that you're going to have fun with this. And let me know how it goes. Leave a comment below. I'd love to hear, please be nice. I'd love to hear how, if you do this, how it works for you. If you pick up any tips and tricks, please share them. I'd love it if you give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. And if you want to be alerted as soon as I put new videos out, because I'm trying to put new videos out all the time, click the little bell and it's going to let you be one of the first folks to know when a new video of mine comes out. I have a private Facebook group all on celebrating junk journals, and I'd love to have you join me. So there's a link down below in the show notes for you to join me there. And I have an Etsy shop where I actually sell some of my hand-dyed paper. So if you want some of mine, as I have it available, I have little kits up there and other fabulous printables for making your junk journals gorgeous. So find me on Etsy, Celebrating Journals. And of course, visit my website, celebratingeverydaylife.com. So if you have a junk journal tutorial or other craft tutorial you'd love to have me make, let me know. Leave me a comment. I'd love to hear from you. And I think that's all. I'm so glad you guys joined me today. I hope you are blessed and keep finding ways to celebrate everyday life. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.